Hey people, it's Shelly, the gray-haired mama, and I am here for moms over 55 who want to thrive in this season of their lives. So if that's you, you've come to the right place and you should hit that subscribe button. Today, mistakes never to make when you let your adult child move back in with you. Stay tuned. Okay, full disclosure. My son came back home to live right after he graduated from college, and I did everything wrong. So you get to learn from all of my mistakes, and you will know exactly what not to do if you find yourself in a similar situation. Let's get into it. Okay, number one, the first overarching mistake that I made was that my husband and I were not on the same page when we agreed to let our son move back home after college. We did not have any discussion whatsoever about the details of the situation. We had no in-depth conversations. We had no plan. I'm not even sure what we were thinking. The only detail I thought of was that I thought he should pay rent once he got his job and started working. That was the only thing I thought of, but I didn't figure out how much he should pay. But my husband disagreed with the idea of charging him rent at all, even if I had planned to put the money aside and give it back to him as a down payment when he was finally ready to buy his own house. So when my husband said he didn't want to charge my son rent, I was like, what? Are you kidding? How could you disagree with the idea of a grown man paying for a place to live? Are you kidding? So you know that was not going to end well. Straight out of the gate, we disagreed. We should have had a full discussion of all the particulars long before we let our son move back in. So that was mistake number one, not having a full discussion with my husband well ahead of time. If I had to do it again, I would start talking to him when my son was in his junior year, beginning of his senior year, and start making some contingency plans in case he needed to move back home. Okay, now that I've covered the obvious, talk to your husband. Now let's talk about some more details about the expenses. Let's start with the cell phone. Now, chances are your kid had a cell phone when he went to college. Actually, he probably had a cell phone when he went to middle school. So now the question is, who pays for the cell phone? What about his car? What about the car insurance? What about car repairs and gas? What about health insurance and dental coverage? What about the food he eats and all his clothes and entertainment? What should your adult child be responsible for? How much should he contribute to the household? How much can he contribute to the household? That's a key question, because what if he doesn't have a job? Now that brings me to another mistake that I made that you should absolutely avoid. When my son graduated from college with honors, he had a job that he was supposed to start in the fall. Frankly, it wasn't with the company that I would have gone with, but since I was completely uninvolved and completely detached from his job search while he was away at college, I just stayed out of it. Well, the summer after graduation came and he had a good time. He had saved his money because he'd worked all the way through college and people had given him money after graduation, so he was having the time of his life. And I figured, let him have some fun. He's going to start working in September. Let him have a good time over the summer. And so he did. Well, the end of the summer came and I expected him to start working at any moment. Well, you guessed it. Long story short is that job never materialized. Mistake number two. There was no plan B in place. What was I thinking? I allowed all his eggs to be placed in that one basket that I already had a bad feeling about. So what was I supposed to do? By October, it was clear that something had gone wrong, and I had an unemployed adult son living in my home with no clear direction on my hands. Plus, I had another child who was in high school and another one in elementary school, so my hands were pretty full. But I didn't let myself get too stressed out because, see, my son's degree was in the healthcare industry and my husband worked in the healthcare industry, so I figured, okay, let my husband help my son get a job. Mistake number three. Here's what I learned. When it comes to a serious job search, telling your kid, go get a job, go look for a job, is not enough. At least it wasn't for my son. At least not in that economy. And from what I understand, the economy has only gotten worse. Clearly, getting a job when you're a new graduate from college and you've got pretty much no experience is a very hard thing to do. Now, sidebar, during that exact same time, my father got sick with cancer and my mother was diagnosed with dementia, and I'm an only child. So having an adult son living at home was a lot of help because he was really helpful and really cooperative and helped a lot with his little sisters. So only God planned that, and I was really grateful to have my son's help during that horrible period of time. But after my father died, my son needed to go back to his own life and he needed to find a job. In fact, his job needed to be finding a job and getting his career path started. If I had to do it again, I'd make him go to that career counseling office at his college every single day, and I'd make him sit on those people until they helped him find a job. Heck, I might even go there myself with my helicopter parent hat on and make them show me what they offered and make them help him actually get a job and start a career. I certainly would hold him more accountable to the progress he was making trying to find a job. I would probably create Google spreadsheets and documents that he would have to fill in so that I could monitor his progress. Now, I know that sounds extreme, but that's probably what I would do if I had to do it again. And I am sure that if he had done that, he would have found gainful employment a lot sooner. Okay, moving on to mistake number 4, curfews. We did not establish any curfews, nor did we establish any procedures around leaving home, telling us where he was going, or when he'd be coming back. That became an issue because, like most college students, my son was used to coming and going whenever and wherever he pleased. But like most moms, I was used to knowing the whereabouts of the people who lived under my roof. Call me crazy, but when my son was away at college, I never thought twice about where he was or what time he was getting in. But when he moved back home, I would get worried if he wasn't home at a decent hour. We should have defined our expectations and requirements ahead of time. We didn't. And it's been really hard to backpedal on this one. My son clearly just got used to not having to report his plans or his whereabouts to anybody. So I'd look up and it'd be 10, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and he wasn't home, and I'd have no idea where he was, and I'd get really worried. Plus, I'm black, hello, and my son is black, hello, 6'1" tall, so I'd be worried about the crooks and be worried about the cops. But he still just never told me his plans. So we reached an impasse. The solution was to put a tracker on his phone. In fact, I have a tracker on all my kids' phones and my husband's phone too. That was the solution we came up with. Now, I will admit that I got lucky in 2 senses. The first one is my son did not care if I knew where he was. He simply didn't care. So putting a tracker on his phone was no big deal. Number 2, I know most of his friends, almost really all of his friends. They're the same group of kids he grew up with, the same group of kids that he went to church with. So guess what? I know the families, and some of those kids, actually most of them, live at home with their mamas too. So when they are hanging out, they're usually hanging out at one of the mama's houses. So it makes life easy. But I know I'm pretty blessed in that area, so I could be in a completely different spot. So if I had to do it again, I would lay out some really specific ground rules and make the child agree to the rules before they were able to move back in. Now, on my next video, I go into even more details about more mistakes, so hit that subscribe button so you won't miss it. Until next time, this is Shelly, the Gray-Haired Mama. You take excellent care. Bye.